Hello, fam, and welcome to this episode of the Business and AI podcast. And today we'll be talking about chapter 7 of the book. We've been talking about Competing in the Age of AI by Michael Ian Cidi and Karim Lakani. Chapter 7 is titled Strategic Collisions. And in this chapter, we'll be exploring what happens when digital firms collide with more traditional organizations in competitive markets. As businesses evolve through AI-powered models, they confront each other essentially, and we find out that older businesses, by older we mean traditional businesses, are disrupted. So that's what we'll be looking at in today's episode. So first, let's talk about what strategic collision mean. Strategic collisions refer to the clash between AI-driven firms with digital operating models and traditional firms with legacy systems and methods. The authors argue that these collisions are inevitable as digital firms gain operational agility, scalability, and continuous learning capabilities that traditional firms struggle to match. These disruptions often result in an accelerated reconfiguration of entire industries. Now, let's take an example. For example, Airbnb. The company that's Airbnb now redefined the hospitality industry by leveraging data-centric platform-based model. Meanwhile, traditional hotel chains such as Marriott and Hilton operate within fixed physical assets and slower processes, limiting their ability to compete with Airbnb's scale and adaptive approach. So I'm assuming that we all understand how Airbnb operates compared to traditional hotels. So you could literally sign up to run an Airbnb under Airbnb as a company. So all they just need is data. They need data, just like Uber, how Uber works. You could sign up to be an Uber driver. That's exactly the same way Airbnb works. So because of that, they have been able to scale more easily than traditional hotels that need to have physical locations whenever they are going to expand. So now let's talk about dynamics of collision and why digital firms win all the time. Digital firms often dominate strategic collisions because they excel in three areas, right? First of all, they excel in scale. That means AI allows digital firms to grow quickly without the need for a proportional increase in resources. Second, they excel in scope. They can enter new markets and industries easily by leveraging network effects. We talked about network effects in the last episode and shared platforms. And the third thing is in learning. Continuous feedback loops allow AI models to improve over time, leading to faster innovation cycles. So these three advantages enable disruptive innovation across industries. For example, Amazon expanded from retail to cloud computing and entertainment by deploying AI and digital networks across various sectors. Traditional firms, constrained by their operational models, find it hard to respond with the same speed and agility. So let's look at a case study, the hospitality industry, just like I tried to explain earlier. The chapter presents Airbnb versus Marriott as a prime example of strategic collision. Marriott operates with a traditional asset heavy model, right? Managing properties and staff worldwide. Airbnb, on the other hand, uses an asset light model powered by data analytics and AI. With fewer employees and no owned properties, that Airbnb doesn't really own any any property. Airbnb has amassed a larger market share in a fraction of time it took Marriott to build its businesses. This case study highlights the importance of agility. While Marriott must maintain and upgrade its physical assets, Airbnb can scale by expanding its platform, onboarding more hosts, and fine-tuning its algorithm for optimal matching between guests and properties. Next, let's look at the smartphone industry, which is obviously another collision in action. The smartphone industry provides another example of strategic collision. When Apple introduced the iPhone, it redefined the market by integrating hardware, software, and a digital ecosystem of apps. Traditional phone makers like Nokia and BlackBerry, which focused primarily on hardware, failed to adapt to this model. As a result, they quickly lost their dominant positions. The lesson here is that ecosystem control, the ability to orchestrate networks of developers, devices, and users, can determine the outcome of a strategic collision. Apple's App Store became a powerful moat, making it harder for competitors to catch up. So the next thing we talk about is collision in finance, banks versus fintechs. So all these are examples from different industries. So right now we get into the finance industry. So this chapter also discusses how financial technology firms, that's fintechs, are disrupting traditional banks. For example, we talked about Ant Financial in, I think, the second episode. Ant Financial serves as a leading example, leveraging AI to deliver personalized financial services to millions of customers. Unlike traditional banks, which rely on branch networks and manual processes, Ant Financial's platform allow for real-time decision-making and automated credit scoring. Traditional banks are struggling to compete because their legacy infrastructure limits their ability to adopt AI and digital operating models at the same speed. However, some incumbents like JP Morgan, that's the Chase Bank, are investing heavily in AI and data analysis to fend off disruption. So the next thing we'll talk about right now is the challenges of digital operating models. While digital firms often have upper hand, they also face challenges. Regulation is a key factor. Airbnb, for example, has encountered resistance from city governments concerned about housing markets and zoning laws. Similarly, just like Uber faces regulatory hurdles around the world, these challenges underscore that scaling digital platforms isn't without friction. So now let's talk about how traditional firms can respond. How would traditional firms respond? The authors outline in this chapter that there are several strategies for traditional firms to survive and thrive in the face of strategic collisions. The first one would be to adopt a hybrid model. Traditional firms can blend their physical assets with digital platforms to offer better customer experiences. The second, according to this chapter, would be to invest in AI and data infrastructure. This would mean building the capability to leverage data effectively and competing with digital firms, essentially. Now, the third one would be to partner with digital platforms. Collaborations can help traditional firms tap into the new markets and access innovative technology. An example of this approach is Walmart, which has invested heavily in e-commerce and partnered with technology companies to improve its digital capabilities. So now, I'm just wondering, what are the broader implications of strategic collisions? Strategic collisions are reshaping the economy with significant implications for workers, consumers, and businesses. Because, when you think about it, traditional firms seem to be the most employer of labor. But now, from a discussion, it seems that they are being kicked out of business by more AI-oriented firms. So this means that a lot of workers are going to be affected. A lot of income earners are going to be affected. So as a digital firm grows, they create new jobs and services, but also they disrupt the traditional employment models. So this shift requires policymakers to rethink how they regulate industries and manage social impact. So this is a concern. When people say, oh, AI is going to take our jobs, although I do not think so, but it's actually a valid concern. So the key takeaway for business leaders. So since we're just basically reviewing this book, I'm just going to withhold from saying what I really think about the topic, AI is taking away jobs and all that. But let's just look at the key takeaways for business leaders from this chapter. So in conclusion, here are the key lessons from this chapter. The first one would be to understand the dynamics of digital operating models. Leaders need to grasp how AI, networks, and platforms create new competitive advantages. The second, be prepared for strategic collisions. As an employee, as a business owner, be prepared. Every industry will face disruption. So leaders must anticipate these changes and act proactively. And as an employee, anticipate these changes and get new skills, skill up. The third one, invest in agility and learning. Continuous learning and adaptability are crucial for surviving in the age of AI. And the fourth one would be to balance innovation with regulation. Digital firms must engage with regulators and communities to build sustainable business model. So that's it for today's episode on the Business and AI podcast. And I hope you really enjoyed our talk today. And in our next episode, we'll be exploring the challenges of digital scale and AI. And if you've not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. It's totally free. I will meet you on the next one.